Thank you so much, everyone. Second last session of the day. Still seeing a good crowd. Thank you so much for being with us, and we hope to keep you entertained during this entire interesting session. So let me start with a quick personal experience of mine. I came to Indonesia almost 5 years back, and before coming to this country, of course, you start brushing on the basics, the fundamentals. You read about the media mix, you read about the consumer insights, and I felt I was armed and ready to conquer the market, so to say. But one thing that my research did not tell me externally is that the role of trust that plays in this market. You may have the best platforms, you may have the best set of tactics, you may have the best partners, but without a base inherent trust, most of it is bound to fail. Trust with the right partner, trust with the right audiences, trust with the right platforms. And today we have this amazing panel that covers across the breadth of the different trust levers, so to say. Thank you so much. Before we get into the questions and I start my grilling, one very interesting point that we observed from one of our Dentsu's APAC Consumer Influencer Research 2025 is that 77% of users in Indonesia trust influencers for the pure reason that they find them to be more trustworthy. So this really shows that how Indonesia is a big trust-driven market. And in context of this background, I will shoot my first question to all three of you. And sorry, I have a lot of notes. We always hear, and I think today's, since the start of today, we have been hearing about performance, we have been hearing about results, we hear about metrics, we are hearing about AI in almost every session. So we have a lot of measures and metrics. The different dashboards, the different platforms have made us really smart in terms of measuring media. Now, measuring trust is a different ballgame altogether. It's not something that can be hard-coded into numbers. So in this context, and starting with you, Banat, what do you think, how do you measure trust in this kind of, in this context?
Yeah. Okay. So to just put a bit of a context, I'm coming from a telco industry, right? So in telco, actually, we are tested every day by network, by purchase, by apps itself. So trust is not a burst of a campaign. For us, trust definitely not about a burst of a campaign. It's a daily things that comes along to our business. It is about trust, right? So I think when we want to find a partner that have a same meaning that we are going to have a trust-based partnership, we need to make sure that the partner will reinforce the same things, right? So two examples that I put here on my slide. I frame it like this. It's an IP-led partnership. You might see this as an event sponsorship, but it's not. What we do here is we don't sponsor the communities, but we host. What comes from it is that we make more than 20 brands stay with us. But the bet here is not about growing an event into bigger scope or what, but we are betting to tap into underserved communities. Why futsal is underserved? Because back then, for example, like 4 years ago, futsal always growing under the shadow of soccer. You know how fanatic soccer in Indonesia, right? So it's like futsal is just like, okay, side this. So we betting to tap into this community, right? For example, and the second is like running. It seems a very trendy thing, right? It seems a very trendy thing. It is in a big city. But if it comes to the secondary and third tier city, it is not. So we tap into this community and we are hosting them. They are underserved in this category. So what we do here, we are seeking for partner that willing to grow the category together, it's definitely a bad thing. Because it's easy to sponsoring team that is already there and hyping, right? But it's different by building the category. And then the second is about a habit enabling partnership. What you see on the screen, it is an offer. It is an offer. But actually behind this, the partnership is about growing the habit, changing the new normal. And it's a good thing because we want AIs not to be something that is scary, but it's enabling the daily life. So this is this kind of thing that we're framing how we're going to build the partnership with trust. Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, the way I see it is you're saying that to win the trust, you need to know the consumer. You need to know what they like. You need to know what they want. And then when you give them what they want, that's inherently the trust is built there.
Is it for me? Yeah. What they want, sometimes it's very obvious. We can even search what is they want, right? But the thing is that we need to find out what is the things that have a bigger or beyond or the ordinary. It's what is the purpose? What is the good things that we want? For example, like this one, we want to change the habit. We want to host a community rather like framing it like a sponsoring a community. We want to change Indonesia to become better with AI rather than talking about how many package adoption that XLSMART and Gemini can for the adoption for the packager. So I think we need to push with more value rather than just like performance and purchasing.
Sure, yeah. I think I'll move to Mas Adit. So same question, and I think the kind of products that the company or associated with interacts with audiences almost on a daily basis, similar to Telekom. So how would you measure trust in that context?
Yes, so trust is something that how to have the compounding asset. So basically, when we measure the partnership, it's not only talking about the short time of partnership, because of the marketing often measure like what is the media delivery, like click-through rate, return of advertising spend, conversion volume, reach impression, and so on. But for sure, the problem is always start with the very short-term metrics. But the marketing should also measure what is the long-term value that built through the partnership. What is the credibility transfer? Is it the partner give us the expertise and also authentications when the partnership began? And then how the consumer advocate our brand? Are the audience engaged with the quality of the content, whether they share, or even create a conversation among of the consumers? And the third one is basically how the consumer can also create the intent signal growth. Something that people start to search the brand. People start to search the site of the brand through the website, the social media, or even because of the social media is quite massive for Indonesia. So user-generated content is something that might be quite important when the partnership create something trust to the consumer. And the last one is very long term because the partnership cannot be created in one time. So need to have kind of the long term, how this long term partnership can create a better brand building. Is trust build the brand imageries or also the brand health score getting improved over the time, not only in bursting system or not only is one time partnership. So that's something that from this very short-term metric that we also measure what is the middle and also the long-term value of the partnership.
Thank you so much, Mas Adit. And I think very fair point you made where we need to balance both long and short term. It cannot be over-indexed on either. Thank you so much. Go to Derek, please. Derek needs a mic.
Okay. Moving Walls had the privilege, before that. Selamat sore, everyone. Thank you for having us here at Moving Walls. And we were very fortunate to be able to attend the Google APAC Partner Conference in Singapore about 1.5 months, 2 months ago. Now, we all, as participants in this ad economy, be it marketers, advertisers, we have put absolute trust into the ecosystem that if we spend, we plan correctly, we will get the right ROI, ROAS, and returns. What is alarming is that it's not the case, right? So if I go to the slide, in terms of the actual numbers of what we're seeing, for every $1 that's put into digital, only 44 cents can be attributable or accountable to the end consumer. And that's quite alarming. If I'm a business owner, for every $1, I only see 44 cents return. Even more alarming is the volume. And the most alarming is that it's compounding on a 34% year-on-year wastage. I don't think there is any other way to say this, that we have put absolute trust into digital, but we have to start asking the right questions into outcomes, and where do we put that trust into?
Sure. Yeah. I think for the round two, we'll start with you. Maybe we reverse the round. So, and I think it's interesting. It's also quite scary as a marketer, the stats that you just presented. And as Moving Walls, the company that you represent, you are at a very interesting intersection of data, media, and partnership. So you see things from multiple angles on an almost daily basis. So from that vantage point, how do you believe that you are able to bring that value to the table to your brand partners, where you are able to design those partnership frameworks that go just beyond the normal media and vanity metrics? Maybe if you can just delve a bit deeper on that.
Thank you for that. I think at Moving Walls, we have a rather unique perspective. For the last 10 years, we have been really privileged to be able to build the measurement infrastructure for the physical world. And that's simply the spaces and screens that all of us, people like you and me, go through every day. We move through it, we transit through it. And one thing that has taught us as a headline is that outcomes and trust and credibility cannot be bought at the end of the campaign. It must be engineered from the very start. And we've learned to see this through 3 layers. So the first layer that we look at in terms of how do you build and aim for outcomes and credibility and trust is we need to look at verification. Every framework for a campaign plan should start with actual audiences. Are we starting the framework with real people in real places, having a real brand experience? And that should be the start of the entire framework and the get-go. So that's the first layer we really concentrated on. The second layer is that we were very fortunate to have a partner in TikTok that, sorry, can you go back to the slide? In TikTok, and the product that we've built with TikTok and the partner is called TikTok Out of Phone. Since we were announced as a partner in February and we started working with them on briefs with clients around the region, we have run roughly about 50 plus campaigns. And in an economy and industry and ecosystem like Indonesia, where trust is extremely important, we have discovered that trust translates very well from online to offline. In our exercise of bringing KOC, creator content, as well as content that sits on digital, to out of the phone and into the streets and onto billboards and retail spaces, we have found that trust is not only highly amplifiable and multipliable, it's highly accurately measurable. That's the second layer. And the third component is we look at, can we measure trust, right? And we ask the question, so can you move to the next slide? We have run a brand lift study which is independent and it's authentic and is accepted by TikTok as brand equity and by the brands we work with, and the toughest brands in the world, from the Unilevers to the L'Oreals and so on. And what we have found is that when we are able to measure the truth and the source of truth in the partnership and we design from it from the get-go, we're able to really not hope that we are able to deliver an outcome based on trust. That trust now translates to a measurable outcome. And if you look at, again, the 3 layers that Moving Wall wants to partner the ecosystem in, that we look at verifiable audiences, that's authentic, real people, real places. We look at the layer of context that's meaningful, and we look at the ability to measure outcomes, and we bring that totality. We understand that there must be a better way to solve the issue that was highlighted in the gaps of digital spending. If we were to able to improve incrementality through the studies we've done with TikTok and out of phone, there's tremendous potential of how we can learn, and it's not about the technology. When a brand puts itself into a public space that's shared, brand cannot hide anymore behind anything else because people are smart enough and consumers are smart enough to understand that.
Thank you, Derek. I think as if we did not have enough of TikTok. Now we have TikTok off the phone. Going to see more interesting things in future. Moving to Mas Adit, like we mentioned, and I think you also mentioned that in this personal care space, where one, it's a highly heated category. You have many competition, and consumers need to sort of believe in the brand that they are using. And which means that when you are evaluating a potential partner for any sort of marketing or sales activations, there needs to be a very clear-cut criteria as to what criteria do I need to choose the partner. So maybe if you can just shed some light on that, considering that I'm sure there would be very strict criteria to find out your partners. So would love to hear more about that from you, Mas.
Yes, so I'm trying to list down what kind of the trust building indicators that very matters. The first trust is basically coming from the credibility of what the reads. The credibility is built coming from the social that always tackle about the reads and also the frequency. Partner giving us very expertise in regards of how the expertise and also the authenticity can bring to our brand. And the second signal is always thinking about the engagement, how the authentic engagement coming from the real consumer. High quality conversation will create some of the share, and also comments in our content, the marketing content. And moving to the next level, which is the trust transfer, how brand can gain credibility through the associations. Because the brand always measure in regards of the brand health study, how the brand imagery toward the brand that we build that depend on the positioning of the product that maybe we create from the beginning. And the second, the next level is the intent signal, which is how the consumer can react toward our content through search, visit, and so on. And for sure, for the last three is basically how the advocacy, how the long-term equity, and also the consistency can build through this partnership and can be measured exactly, either through the conventional brand, if studied something that moving wall can provide to consumer, or we can go something like very futuristic AI-based a consumer survey that might be can identify with certain question what is the best thing that people think about our brand.
Thank you so much. That was quite a comprehensive framework. Finally, back to Excel, and we know that consumers today are not disloyal, but they are selectively loyal, so to say. So their loyalty keeps on fluttering. And for a brand like Excel, which interacts, and we know that it is, Telekom is one category which always gets most impacted whenever there is a problem and you see the Twitters and everything just blowing up. So how do you ensure that the partners that you're bringing into the XLSMART ecosystem are working towards the larger, not just to drive the sales in the short term, but also drive the larger brand promise and to make consumers' life easy?
Yeah, it's a sum up from Derek and Mas Bambang said before. Actually, we need, if we talk about performance, we can always be able to hack it, right? We can always be able to boost it anytime. Anytime we have like small improvement, we can always boost it and so on. But the thing is that if we have a partner, if we have a long-term partner, we also need to have a checkpoint, whether we still share the same value, whether we still share the same standard, whether we still have the same purpose and so on. So I think it's a must-have ticket rather than just like measuring the performance and so on. So that's one thing. And then when we have a metrics for the performance, we need to stretch. We need to stretch a bit rather than just how many click reach and so on, so on, so on. How many is the return rate? Do they do the organics, advocacy, and so on, so on. So we need to be able to stretch, and both parties need to be open enough to share the real insight, the real pain point, even if it's the ugly truth that we need to face it together. So I think that's the key ticket to have a trust-based partnership.
Sure. Yeah. We are pretty much running bang on time, but there has been some very interesting perspectives that were shared on stage. I have taken a lot from this session. I think I'm sure that I will be able to bring forward new perspectives when I go for my upcoming presentations. Thank you so much. I think we should get punctuality award. We are bang on time. Yes, MMA, please. Thank you so much, MMA team, for giving us this opportunity.